Hello? Hello? Okay, I have a fan going on in the back. Hopefully it's not too loud. Okay, hopefully it's not too loud. Also, welcome in, Chaos. Welcome in, Mom. Welcome. You good for tomorrow? Yes. Yes, I am. I should be. I'm heading home. Was having system issues, so I had to stay late. Oh, be careful home. Get home safe. I know it's cool and so, but Siri, be cautious. You know, one time I say hi to Siri and Siri rickrolled me. I was a little disappointed. Guys, it's me, I'm the fan. Is it too loud? Tell me if it's too loud. I'm gonna put it on low. Okay. Also, since you're doing 2 days in a row to fight, should still be fresh in your head. Yes. You know, my goal is to hopefully beat him today. Hopefully beat him today. Oh my god, is that pt21? Hey cutie. Oh no, you. I'll be liking. Welcome, man, Crimson. Thank you for the like. Thank you. Fan not loud enough? Okay. That is good. That is good. If you beat him today, then we are planning the no-hit run. No! No, my plan is to never touch this game ever again. If I beat this game, I'm not touching it ever again. Okay? Okay, now where is my death counter? Death counter. Where are you? Where is death counter? Okay. Put this here. Okay. We're at death number 775. I just want Shen to fight the intro boss again. The intro boss? Why? When you beat this game, you're going for the road to diamond in Valorant? Valorant? No. I'm not that try hard in Valorant. Okay. Because the intro boss is just Genichiro? Is it actually? Valorant, okay. I'm not a Valorant gamer, okay? Oh my god, ads? BRB? I see. Okay. We're just gonna get right into it. Okay. My first fight of the day. Okay, I'm back. Welcome back. Okay. Focus, Shen. I almost got pulled over. Mom, be careful. Don't text and drive. God damn. Okay. Warm up. Okay. No Gamba? I wasn't texting and driving though. I shouldn't do that either. Yeah! You know, pay attention to the road. floor pedal to the metal. I was bringing my coworker home and went through a school zone a little fast. A school zone? No, you should go faster! Okay. I am home now, okay? Okay, Mom. Get home safe from the 10 steps. Okay.
Sekiro.
Oh! Oh! Oh, back up! Oh! Oh! Okay. That's okay. Okay. Warm up, good warm up. Oh! Okay. No! Okay. Oh! I moved! It's okay, that was good! That was good! Okay. Time to dodge too late, yeah. That was a good warm up. I'm going all in? You going all in? That's what he said. Don't let me down, Shen. I'm sorry. You might go down. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, don't do 40 in a 25-mile zone. Though it's a copter. Damn, Mom. You going 40 in a 25? God damn. I'll go at least like, I don't know. At least like 35. I got lucky. I pulled into my coworker's driveway like 30 seconds after. Ah, I see. Did she get shot? Yeah, I got shot. He has a Glock. Can you believe that? I love yesterday. You're so funny here. Yes, I am. Okay, Crimson. I am. This is my third attempt. Okay. Focus.
俺がアシナを生かす。
Oh. Oh fuck. Okay. That was a bad warm up. That was a bad warm up. Okay.
その力だ。
Oh. okay. It's okay. Lucky number 777. I'm gonna get like shit all points if I win. Okay, I'm getting on the PC. You can react to it after this attempt. React to what? What? My sister did 90 in a dirty zone while I was in a car once. And 90 is so fast. Some people don't even go 90 on like freeways. Daddy Shinobi, let me be your Discord kitten again. You know, okay. You know, I try to give you what's it? So Discord is like giving me like 2 free weeks of like Nitro to friends, but then it won't let me give it to you. I think it's because I gave it to you already. It just won't let me give it to you again. Oh shit. Oh. Okay, good.
Sekiro.
Oh! Oh! Rude. Okay. Oh! Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh! 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 Okay. His posture goes down so fast. If you win though, you might have enough for an Uwu cover. No! 9K? It's because I'm a man. Now the fastest car I've been in was when my brother was racing his friend on the interstate at 120. Oh my god. It's kind of scary. You guys know when a person is like driving super fast, it starts to feel like you're like floating. It scares me. That scares me a lot. Add a code for Discord Nitro Inspire. I should have gave one of y'all the code. Oh, yeah, you should share it. My brother went 110 down and then to say 2. Oh my god. Going 100 on the gravel rock. Why are you going 100 on the gravel rock road? Wouldn't that be like super like bumpy? No? Oh, you did that? I feel like you'd be like swerving everywhere, no? I'm sending it in 2 different files. Now react? What am I reacting to?
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. Oh! Oh!
海にじらせはせぬぞ
Okay. This is good.
参れ関野
This is good. This is good. This is good. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyone want some blueberry pics? Welcome, man. Nobody, welcome. Ooh, not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of blueberries. I'm more of a raspberry kind of gal. Okay. Oh! Rude! Rude! Oh my god! Rude. I can make it into a smoothie? Great, because I have like 30 pounds and livers in the one other person, so God knows. Why do you have 30 pounds of blueberries? Do you pick them yourself? I'll dox my address, I don't mind. Rosenberries are better than raspberries. What is rosenberries? I don't think I know what rosenberry is. Should I react? What am I reacting to? Oh, the sound alert thing? Hold on.
忍びさん恋しい
What the hell is this, bro?
Whiskey?
What the hell?
大好きです
You want me to make this a sound alert? The whole thing. Don't you think it's kind of long, Mom? What the heck?
私も好きですか
What is this voice acting? Yes, Lord, just yes. Oh my god. You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it after stream. That is crazy. That's why I even put on Discord. Trust. Yes. I have nothing to say. Okay, I have nothing to say about it. I have nothing to say. Okay. Next. This is it. This is it. Perfect for the channel. Exactly. Damn, this community. This group of friends. Oh! Oh! I keep thinking he's gonna jab me. No, that's okay.
その力だ
Oh my god, Mom.
俺にもなすべきことだ
You distracted me! It's paying for the good boy alert I took from you? Oh my god, I hate that alert. I'm not kidding. It's so cringe. It's such a cringe. I don't know why even. I don't even know why I even said that. But what? Why, Shen? Why? You gotta wait for your birthday? I'll find something potentially worse. Or it's gonna be really random. Oh god. Oh god, oh god. Okay, Sekiro.
俺がアシナを生かす
780, 780. Oh! What the hell is this clip? Oh. Okay. Took a little while. Clip roulette.
参れ関野
You know, I gotta organize my clips. I feel like there's a ton of clips that literally have like no context. Okay. Okay.
たぎってきた行くぞ
Okay. They probably are. Do it again once for me. The shoutouts. 781. I'm gonna go clip your reaction to me later. Oh my god. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Oh my god, it's an old clip. Shinobi-chan! Hi! Narikaski! Welcome, Mitoshi! Welcome! How are you? How is your day? How is work? This is so old, right? Yeah, that's such an old clip. How's your sanity? Actually, pretty good. You know, we're on to a good start. You know, I'm like mentally stable. I'm just having lunch. Oh, what are you having? Oh. Please. Oh. Okay. Okay. Get me spaghetti? Oh my god. Disgusting. I'm not a big fan of spaghetti. But sounds good, sounds good. My mom just served way too much. Oh, I mean, whenever you make spaghetti, you always make it in like big quantity, you know? Okay. Okay. Oh. 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 Okay. You don't like them? No, I'm not a big fan of like spaghetti or like tomato. I'm not a big tomato fan. Also, like when I was like growing up, my family used to like make tons of like spaghetti every day, like every single day, and I kind of like lost the taste for it. Oh, okay. Oh my god. You missed her reacting to my... Oh, you just got sick of it? Yeah. No, but after stream, there will be... the clip. Did you have spaghetti with garlic bread or toast? Neither. Just spaghetti. Yeah, just spaghetti. Mhm. Mhm. It was okay. I mean, I don't hate it, you know, but like I would prefer to eat something else than spaghetti. And like, yup. I said thank you for the leg. Thank you. I love that he just pulls a gun on you. Yup. You know, I still can't believe he has a freaking gun. Garlic Texas toast hit good with spaghetti. I mean, I like garlic toast, garlic bread, but like spaghetti itself is just, I don't know. I would rather have like Alfredo or like, you know, cream sauce.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay. I'm locked in, I'm locked in! Oh, I jumped though! Too late. Come over here, come over here. Okay. This is good, this is good. Don't touch my spaghetti sandwich? No, that sounds wrong. A spaghetti sandwich?
参れ
Isn't that just like meatballs and meatball sub unless it has like noodles in it? Oh, okay. Thank you for the headphones. Thank you for the reading. Thank you. Mr. Meatball sub. I mean, that's different though. If you say spaghetti sandwich, I think of like noodles in a sub. Oh, okay. I gotta stop looking at chat. You guys are distracting me. It might actually be better when it's a sub bread. I'm gonna try that next. You never had a Subway meatball sub? It's a pretty popular dish. Oh, is it a dish? Pretty popular sandwich. I mean, noodles in a sandwich? Wouldn't that just be like too much carbs? How my mom makes egg rolls, she makes them with the noodles. But like, that's different though. Egg rolls is not like an actual like bread, you know?
俺がアシナを生かす
Oh! Oh.
入れ関野
Ow! Fuck! Oops. Did not mean to walk off. I keep thinking like it's gonna have like a wall, you know? Like invisible wall. Where is he? Oh, there. Oh. Oh. Okay, okay.
たぎってきた行くぞ
Oh god. Okay. It's okay. Okay, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Okay, I hate that little swing back. Oh. Oh! No! So close! So close! So close! Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, Shane, you just gotta remember. You just gotta remember, Shen. How my mom makes... Oh, wait. Am I reading that? I read that already. Oh, is it like saying spring rolls are like ew with no noodles? I mean, spring rolls, that's how they're made though, you know? The carbs are the noodles itself. It's like a little sheet of rice. Compared to a Subway, a spaghetti sub, the noodles are carbs, but you're putting carbs on another carb. You know? Also, welcome in news underscore car underscore battery underscore. Welcome, welcome. How are you? How is your day? How is your evening? Okay. Right now I'm playing some Sekiro. We're fighting the final boss Ishin. Yup. It feels great so far. Okay, then what about people who cook beef with bacon? I mean, you don't just eat beef and bacon by itself, you know? Usually it's like paired with like a side of vegetable. You know? Like potatoes. Okay. Oh! Oh! Ow! What the hell? Okay. That's called burger. Yeah, burger. Some people do. You'd be surprised about Southerners. I mean, I don't know. I think people who eat like just meat by itself without any like side, like a vegetable or like a bread or like psychopaths. People who are on like carnivore diets, how are you living? You need some fibers. Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh, I don't know why I keep going forward for it. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was bad. That was really bad. That was really bad. That was really bad. This fight is that Doctor Strange, Dormammu, I've come to bargain as if Shen might win? What do you mean might win? I am gonna win. I am. Oh, Mom is gone! Mom! What? Why are you guys leaving? But I didn't get to read your messages! Okay, we try this again. We try this again. Okay.
俺がアシナを生かす
Okay, okay. Oh. Yeah, I think there's a cooldown. Actually, I'm not sure. I think Mom done it like 20 times in one stream before.
結局何もできなかった Sekiro.
Okay. Oh. Okay, okay. No, I pressed. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Okay. No! Wait, what? Okay. Why is it so hard to counter the second one? Okay. Okay. Ah. Ah, okay, I messed up there. Oh, is that because my posture is low? No! Okay. What did I do? Okay, I gotta stop. I just stay still, Shen. Stay still. Okay. Yeah, my factory rest a bit. My factory rest bit. What? Also, it's funny because she won't see that when you vanish again after. Ah, factory reset. Ah. Oh. I see, I see. Okay, 785. You guys know, even though you guys vanish, I can still see your chat on my stream. I think so.
俺がアシナを生かす。
Oh fuck. Oh, okay. Okay, okay. Let's put them up, okay? Then don't ask us what happened. Cause it's so small, I can barely even read it, you know?
結局何もでき
Compared to my Twitch chat that I'm looking at. Oh. Hey. Ah. Oh. Okay, I'm literally stuck on the edge. I am literally stuck on the edge. No fear, no fear, no fear. Oh. Oh, I moved. Oh. Ah, okay. My timing is so slow. My timing is so slow. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. Shen size shaming? What do you mean? Is that because Shen is about the same size as your hand? Actually, it is smaller. Okay, it's smaller. She got edged. I got edged. Indeed. Indeed. Boop, 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 boop. Also, you guys know today I was on like a scary movie watching binge. Like I watched this movie called Clown. Came out in like 2014. It was pretty cool. The clown itself was pretty cool. The story is pretty cool. But then like the characters was so stupid. Like the main character and all the kids. Okay. So you watch a life story? No, it wasn't my life story. It's like the main character, other than the clown, is like the wife And the wife was so dumb. She was so selfish. Like all she wanted was her husband back. But then her husband became the clown that ate like 10 other kids and even tried to eat her own kid. But she's like, I still love him. We're gonna bring you back. You can't bring him back anymore. He's gone. You know? Like he turned into a full-on monster already. She was like getting on my nerves so bad. God. Okay. Oh. Oh. No! Okay. 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 Stay still, Shin. I gotta stop moving. That didn't move! I didn't even move that time! Oh god. Isn't that based on Pinky the Clown or Bozo? Wasn't that based on real life thing? I don't know, but the clown name in the movie was called Dumbo. Dumbo. Dummo. It was like a clown. The legend was that there's a clown monster that lives in the mountains in winter and stole a child for every month in winter to eat. Yeah. I fixed it and she became a monster? Oh my god. Over your kid? A classic I can fix it moment? I don't know. I just took, okay. I think the thing that pissed me off the most about the movie was that she took so long just to kill him. Just to kill him. And like the guy who like knew about the clown and like was the only person who can help her, she like threw him under the bus. She threw him under the bus. They were at Chuck E. Cheese and then like he was like injured because he was trying to kill the clown, right? But then she just left him there. She left him there. And like he got arrested. And then she kidnapped a kid to give it to the clown. Oh my god. The movie is called Clown. Like just the word clown. You did it too late again? Yeah, I know. Oh. Okay. want to restart. Okay.
その力だ。踏みにじらせはせぬぞ。
Okay. If it's on Tubi, I'm gonna watch it. It's on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix. Apparently, a lot of people like it, but apparently a lot of people don't like it. But like the whole like clown transformation thing was pretty cool though. But then like the story itself was like the characters. It was so bad. Oh. Oh. Okay, okay. Yeah, 2014 movie.
たぎってきた。行くぞ。
Oh. Oh. Oh, I don't know why I thought I was gonna swing. Oh, okay. No, okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, if it's an old one, old one, it should most likely be on Tubi since it's mostly old stuff. I see. Evening, actually morning now, ladies. Last day them. Hope y'all are having a good time wherever you are. Please remember to drink plenty of waters and eat if you haven't yet. Welcome in, Samurai Blade 4375. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? Make sure you also drink plenty of water and eat if you haven't eaten yet. You heard him? Drink. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we do this again. We do this again. Okay. Okay. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Oh. Oh! Okay. Okay. Also, thank you for the follow, Samurai Blade. Thank you. I'm doing good. I was working on a little hobby project, so we just here for a moment to take a break. Oh, nice. I hope you enjoy your time here. I'm just having a mental breakdown, silently battling Ishin. This is totally not my third time, my third stream, you know, fighting this guy. Totally not.
Sekiro.
Okay. Oh, missed. Good progress. Okay, I just gotta time it. Oh. Okay, he's bullying me. Oh my god. What the hell? I didn't mean to go up to him. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh my god. Oh my god, shit is spinning as always. Welcome in, Vento. Welcome. How are you? How is your day? You suck. Thank you for the blame. Thank you. You want some vitamin D supplement? Cream? It's been 3 days without sunlight. Oh my god, Crimson! You want some vitamin D? Vitamin D's nuts! In your mouth. I am so sorry. Slip it to Shin so the 4 of us and 5 of us can escape? What do you mean? You guys are not studying. You have a little window, you know? Shin is a bit. Okay. I'm good. I wanted to run earlier and then I took a nap. Yeah, these nuts. Woo! Oh, running. Nice. God, I hate running. I hate running. Oh my god. I don't know. Okay, I hate running, but then I played soccer in like middle school, which is insane to me because, you know, soccer, you gotta run a lot. I don't even know why I did that for. I don't. Yeah, crazy, right? Okay. Focus. Hey, good.
Aire, Sekiro.
Ouch. Ouch. Okay. Yeah, I know. I need to time it. I think I'm like low-key panicking a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. We're getting better. We're getting better. I don't have a window with cardboard covering the outside. Yeah, I'm in her closet gagged. Okay, you guys are not hostages. Okay. Shannon's the soccer kid who sits on the grass when the soccer ball is on the other side of the field. No. I was actually kind of good at soccer, alright? Okay. I believe Shan told Chad once that she was defender. Okay, I was like sub defender, but I mostly play like the right wing. That was my role. I was the right wing. Basically like forward attacking, yeah. Your panic is not low-key? Well, thank you. Back? I'm not? Then why is my foot chained? What do you mean? Your foot is not chained, okay? Your hand is. Okay. This is a 790. 790. Okay. Okay. Why am I gagged with my arms and my legs spread? I mean, I don't know why they're spread. I mean, that's on you, Mom. I have nothing to do with that. Okay. Am I gonna get chained out or do I get a say in this? You do have a say in this, alright? It's a democracy, okay? You have free speech, okay?
Sekiro.
Oh. Maybe I should counter that. I never counted that one. Ouch! Oh, I died? Okay. Free speech for your limbs are taken. Okay. Oh, whoops. He tried to dodge. Wait, reset. Oh, okay. Whoops. Rude. 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 Oh my god. Oh, I arrived at the lion's den then? Yo, what are you guys talking about? You typed... Why am I gagged with my... Oh, wait, I read that already. Wait, you typed them that way? Me? I did no such thing! How come he gets to be the gag and I get duct tape? I mean, you guys can switch places if you want, you know? I choose the kitchen. I like cooking. Ooh, I mean, you can stay in the kitchen, and that's fine with me. Don't let her lie. You have no choice. She lures you in the... What do you mean? Okay, the boy smell bit has gone too far. Okay, okay. I said that one time. Okay, I said that like 20 times. But I don't actually mean it. Okay? My sibling in Christ, this means free food and housing at the expense of my sanity. And for free will, I shall believe the light. Though, I don't know about the boy smell. Okay, okay, okay. I mean...
You guys, how did you stop
I also like girl smell too, okay? Okay. Okay. Oh my god, quite the sniffer. Thank you. Hey Shankala today, thank you, Phantasma! So welcome in, Phantasma. How are you? How is your day? How is your evening? How is your morning?
Sekiro.
Oh. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Okay, get away from the rock. Oh, okay. That's okay, that's okay. Oh! Oh! Okay. I like how I'm the first to do this bit and then Crimson just joins. Yeah, you guys are making false allegations. I don't got nobody in my attic, okay? Or my closet. Okay, that was bad. That was bad, that was bad, that was bad, that was bad. It's okay, that's okay. That's A-okay, that's A-okay. I'm alright, I'm eating curry and watching a bit of anime. Feel like I spent half the day lying on the couch. Ooh, I mean, that sounds like a great day to me. But that sounds fun. What kind of anime are you watching? What anime? No one says otherwise. She glares at me every night. What do you mean they escaped yesterday and I had to beat the temp? What do you mean? Lies! You guys are putting up lies.
俺がアシナを生かす。
Okay, gotta focus. Oh, how's that aim? I jumped. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
なすべきことがある。さらば。
793. The sequel to this game should be called Sekiro Shinobi Dies 792 times. So welcome NinJJ, welcome. How are you? How is your day? Me lie? I would never. Trying out the school babysitters anime? Gakugen babysitters. Wait, I never heard about that one. Is it good though? It's cute? It's a cute anime. Just how it was a dream when I woke up. I was in the basement with my hand chained. It was a fuzzy handcuff to the Why is the handcuff fuzzy, huh? It's also pink. I kinda... Wait, what? I kinda... That line of Kuro's where he's like, how many times have you died? Once, twice? More times than I can count? I mean, all like, that last one. See? Genichiro. I'm doing wonderful today. Had a great time connecting with people in my church. Ooh! How about you, Shan? Are you doing well? I'm alive. I mean, that's pretty good, right? Oh. Oh, jump up! Oh my god! Oh, okay. Please don't shoot me, please don't shoot me. Oh, okay. Oh my god. Oh, okay. It's not good. Oh my god, I keep getting hit. You know what? That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm getting distracted. That's okay. Fluffy handcuffs are so... You don't leave marks on your guests. You know what? Never mind. Never mind. That's very good, Shinobi. Did you know there are more people dead than alive? That means you haven't got a skill issue. Thank you. That's such a great way to look at it, JJ. Thank you. Gotta take care of your belongings after all. Oh my god. I didn't know you were kicking like that. Shannon, what do you mean? No. tough person, okay? I'm more like a rope kind of person. Okay. You guys gotta chill, okay? Chill! Chill, okay? You guys chill. I left for a solid minute or so. Why are we talking about bondage?
黒様
It's not me, it's them! They started it, okay?
久しいな見込ん
Okay, I gotta focus! No more distractions, okay. Okay. Okay! Okay. I'm locked in. Oh, not good. Oh! Can't get my ass beat here. Oh! Oh! How dare I die? How dare? Oh shit! Oh fuck! Okay. That's okay. Where am I? Just stop going to the edge. Come here! Okay. No, wait, we go over here.
行くぞ関野
Oh no, that did not work. No. No, my parries are so bad. My parries are so bad. Okay. Oh fuck. I'll try and heal. Oh! Okay. No! This is so hard! Okay. No, we try again. What is this? I mean, fair is a topic that just ropes you in, you know? That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Wait, if you got now, it wasn't a dream? She got me with a trick. What do you mean? I don't have tranquilizers. Yep, left butt cheek. I feel it now. I'm afraid if I come back, I won't stop to help. Are you guys RPing right now in my chat? You guys are RPing a hostage escape. What is this? I've grown attached to the ropes. Hey, did Shen make it to the 4th phase yet? I have not. Nope. No, I've been stuck on the dirt. It seems to be a running joke, or it could be if they could run. If they could run. Darn, I thought she would have hit at least once by now. Nope! Nope! I'm trying to. RP? No? This is by far the honest yet most interesting chat I've been part of. Yeah, it's like this. It's like this all the time. Sadly. Was RP? I just want to see my family. It's been 2 years. Role playing. I mean, you're free to leave, okay? The door's open. You can leave. Okay. Okay. This is good. Oh. Oh. Oh, I messed up. Oh, $300. Okay. This is good.
Sekiro.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I keep falling for that. Oh, okay. Oh, you guys are vanishing? I'll cover your escape, 07? I do unironically know how to lock pick, so I could pick the cups, I'm just saying. But can you pick a rope? You can... 1 minute? What do you mean? Can I just watch you guys leave? Cause I can't. Maybe I can eat it? Eat the rope, rip it with your teeth. But that's about it. I'll get the ropes. I hear footsteps of a tiny little person inside. Tiny little person? What do you mean, tiny little person? For your information, I am at least 5'11". I feel like it'd be trickier to unlock yourself though. Funny enough, it was about 1 minute for the fight. Is it actually? I don't know how long the fight was. feel like it just goes by so fast though. You'd be amazed at the things you learn to do at 3 a.m. Okay. Oh! Oh! Oh shit! Okay. This is good. This is good. This is good.
参れ関野
Oh my god. Oh my god! Oh! Okay. Ah! Okay. Oh. Oh god. There's one more to the counter, guys. That at least had some stink on. What are you guys talking about? Should you play the brothers in Dibby Doo? You have a tiny person that jumps on you? Persona? The brothers? We made the brothers in the Buddha. No, I'm amazed at the things you learn at 3 a.m. I don't learn at 3 a.m. I mope and whine instead. Oh no! What? Okay, we're gonna try again. We're gonna try again. I like to change my phone to no. You can't do that. When you say you were at least 5'11", what? Okay, what do you mean? Oh, at least when I say when I'm at least when I said I was 5'11". Yeah, I'm at least 5'11", okay? I'm beginning to think Shen is too busy stealing defeat from the jaws of victory. You know, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm serious this time. I'm serious. Okay. Oh. Okay? Serious. I'm serious now. Very, very.
参れ関野
Oh. Argo, Argo. Oh! Not very Argo. Oh! Okay, I hate that move. I hate that move! Okay. Guys, why was 7 scared of 9? Because 7, 8, and 9. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the head pass. Thank you, thank you. Lady, it's the opposite. Yeah, I know, but I thought it was funny. Okay. You know what's the best height number? 6 foot 9 inches. Oh my God! It is 69. Listen, I know Shen's actual height, and I found out some funny things about it. Okay, are you gonna talk about the roller coaster thing? The rides? Huh? Again? Did I not gonna lie? I just hold my pug while I do that. But hey, tears or not, I'm gonna learn a new skill somehow. I mean, guys, if you learn something new every day, that means you learn 365 things in 1 year. Yeah. Thank you for the redeem. Thank you. Yeah, she can ride some amusement park rides. Actually, I have never been rejected. Okay? Except for one time. Almost. I almost did. It was when we were riding like bumper cars. I think the height limit was like 4'9" or something. And I was just a little bit taller than that. Okay? Yeah, how you are just tall enough to ride the rides at Disney without adults? Just barely? I wonder if you have... Oh, I wonder if you can be too tall for an amusement park ride? Oh, maybe. I mean, if you're too tall, can you even fit in a chair? Kind of. Or like, you're too tall and like the roller coaster goes into a tunnel. What if your head just like decapitates? That'd be kind of scary. Oh my God, that would be scary. Oh my God, traumatizing. Jeez. Shen? Yes, mom? Yes? They made rides for tall white people? Like just specifically them? What would it mean? You just get Final Destination by Disneyland? Oh, Disney ride? Traumatizing, the nearest child too. Sounds like a fun day actually. Oh my God. Actually, that would be kind of a fun day. Traumatizing but like exciting day, you know? What about rice for tall black people, mommy? I wanna elaborate and leave it at that. I see. So guys, it's been 2 hours. I'm gonna go take a bathroom break. Okay? I will BRB in like 2 minutes. Okay? Talk among yourselves and behave. Okay? Don't get me banned. Okay? Be nice to each other. BRB, burp, guys, burp. Okay, I am here. I'm back. Okay. Okay. She didn't read it and and she never will. Read what? Oh, 6 was afraid of 7 cause 7 ate to 9, but 6 ran to the other 5 for help. 3 made it back to town cause 1 even leads to another. Wait, did you make that up or was that pre-made? Oh my god. Wait, did you win before 800? No, she didn't. It hasn't been 800 yet. It has only been 798. Okay, 798. 2 more tries. Who's we? I'm in the kitchen. Y'all want snacks snuck down there? A beef burrito? Oh my god. I'm never betting on this channel again? What do you mean? Yeah, it's not over yet. Okay. I heard that long ago. I couldn't remember how it went, so I made the last 2 parts. Oh. I see. Can you die twice really fast? Thanks. You're welcome. Okay. Does you know house always wins? Always bet on black, guys. Oh. Okay. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I am ready. Oh my god. Damn, call me Gregory then? Gregory? Who the heck is Gregory? Yeah, the Bennett thing goes away when the vote time runs out. Yeah. That was really good on the first phase. Thank you! I worked so hard on it. Oh. Oh fuck. Oh my god, this tree. Okay. Oh. Oh. need a gun. Oh my god! Oh god! Okay. Jesus Christ. Have you tried using a gun in this fight, Shen? You know, I have, but for some reason, I don't have a gun. I love how ready you sound. Oh my god, okay. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you like my brattiness. Okay. This is the one. Ads? Not my streamer. Oh my god, you hear that, guys? I'm his streamer. Streamer? But I hardly even know her. God, I haven't said that in a long time. Okay. Yeah, I love the movie Holes. Do you not like Holes? What's your favorite hole? Is it glory? Okay. No shots? Welcome in, Kayla. Welcome. How are you, Kayla? How is your day? What? You don't have a gun? Come down to Texas real quick. We say you are ready, Sam. Thank you, JJ. Thank you. Something with the shout out, Chaos. How is she at 800? I'm sorry. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Wanna be stuck in Shen's basement with us? She's a lot better. Okay, I'm better than before, okay? Better than before.
参れ関野せよの
Oh, not fair, not fair, not fair. Okay, I'm good. How about you? I'm also doing good. Doing really well. Besides playing this game.
行ってきた関野
Okay. should just wait for him to hit me first, right? But then his posture goes down. My god. No! That was good. That was a good run. That was a good run. Good for number 800. Pay up. Give me my points. It was a sweep. That was a sweep. Oh, damn. I think I sing wrong. My eyes are gaslighting me. Oh god, oh god. I'm fucking rich, boys. Damn, 10k, 10k. Oh my god. That's
okay,
crazy.
I know this is a really bad idea, but
immediately, that's crazy.
I'm gonna regret this so much. Okay, ready? Right.
Goddamn.
Ooh, you so warm.
Couldn't help but notice your fish run across the floor. I said so baggy as pencil, baby. You so take me home, pet me, and make it yours.
Don't forget to stuff me.
Damn.
Damn. Kisses and lickies and neck. I hope daddy likes these nuzzles and wuzzles or jazz. I'll be getting thirsty.
That's
Hey, I got a little itch.
crazy.
You think you can help me? Only 7 inches long. Ooh, please stop me. Pause on your ball dress and lick my lips. Ooh, better hit them with this very shit. You don't see it coming.
You don't see it coming. Goddamn. Thank you for the redeem. Thank you for the redeem. Thank you, thank you. Damn. Okay, this is the one. This is the one. Okay. 825. down, yes? Don't let me down? Okay, okay, I won't let you down, won't let you down!
入れ関野
Okay. Okay, this is good, this is good! This is good.